Miko.
I'm Kalila.
And today we're actually going to be talking to you guys about something that's been pretty big happening in the movie industry. Disney and Fox have been in some serious talks the last couple of weeks about Disney possibly buying a large portion of 21st Century's properties. And so that's a really big deal to both of us because obviously we're really big into watching movies. But the main thing is that we're really into Marvel movies and watching all the different superhero movies, different superhero shows. Beyond like all the other properties that they could get, the most important thing that stuck out to me was, oh, Disney could finally get, or Marvel could finally get the rights back for X-Men, Fantastic Four, and potentially even Deadpool. So this news could obviously lead to a lot of different changeover, and it could lead to a lot of different possibilities for different movies, different TV shows. And so we kind of wanted to give our reaction to this news because from the way things have been sounding, like there could be this huge announcement either before Christmas or before the new year.
Okay.
So because we're such big movie people, I'm more into movies and comic books. Kalila likes to
I just like the movies.
So so one of the topics that we really wanted to get into, and it's more so, you know, speculation because we really don't know, we don't even know if this deal is going to go through. It can always potentially fall through, but everything I heard that it's really picking up speed, like to the point where like I guess they're getting banks involved. One thing that we want to talk about is obviously specifically Marvel Studios has been killing it with all of their movies. You know, they're the ones that have been behind Iron Man, Thor, and Spider-Man, Captain America, the Avengers. Like they've been behind that whole portion. And so the question that I kind of had along with a lot of other people is, what do you think? Well, first of all, do you think that that Marvel Studios is going to try and interject the X-Men and or Fantastic Four into their current universe, the way that it's currently set up?
Well, I've already told this to Miko. I think that they should just start from scratch. I think that they need to throw everything away and start from scratch. I don't necessarily think they need to integrate. But I think you have a different opinion.
Well, my opinion is that, I mean, Marvel Studios has gone through so much work, right, to build this entire universe where all of these superheroes share a space. But the thing is, though, so these movies have been going on. I think Iron Man came out in like 2003, 2002.
I don't even remember what.
I don't know. I mean, if you know, leave a comment exactly when Iron Man came out. But I know it was early 2000s, right? So now
we were young.
Yeah. So you know, we're looking at, you know, well over 10 years into the making that these movies have been coming out, and so I definitely think they should include them. The trick is, though, how do you do it?
Well, that's why I think they should just scrap everything and start over, because how are you going to do it?
Well, I think you can still do it, but it doesn't mean just because you intertwine, you know, the X-Men, intertwine the X-Men or the Fantastic Four, doesn't mean that you have to use the cast that has currently been used in Fox.
Well, they definitely can't use the same cast. I mean,
yeah,
these movies are way too old to use the same cast.
Well, not the same cast. I meant like some of like the newer X-Men movies. Like they're still kind of young. Obviously, yeah, you couldn't do the Fantastic Four because Michael B. Jordan's about to be in Black Panther, so
which we can't wait to see.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a video for that.
Yes.
But so yeah, obviously you would use a different cast, but you could definitely, I think you could still have them in the universe. The trick, though, the only tricky part is how do you explain the X-Men more so than the Fantastic Four.
I think my idea is better.
Well, so no, because I think the Fantastic Four, like, yeah, to your point, you could definitely introduce them into the universe like the way it is now, and it'd be brand new, and it'd not be a big deal because they're still introducing new characters. Exactly. Right now, like MCU is still doing it. They're still introducing Captain Marvel, Black Panther a little bit. I think next year, like it's like the first time we're really gonna get to see the Wasp. So there's room to interject the Fantastic Four. The tricky part is the X-Men. But so that leads to the next question. It's not so much a question as much as it is, I guess, like a game or something like that of, if we were to interject the X-Men, how do you think we could do it without the least amount of confusion?
I don't think you can do it. I stand by my statement. I think that they should scrap everything and start over. I just don't think that you can do it.
I think you can. And so I'm going to spend the next couple
minutes.
This is where
the marital spat begins.
No, but I think there's an actual easy way of doing it.
Okay, Mr. Fantastic, you tell everyone how this can happen.
I think there's a really easy way of doing it. Now, does that mean that there won't be... I think it's going to have to rely on the audience just willing to accept it and be like, all right, fine, we buy that. Because it just has to be with the least amount of confusion.
But I'm not buying it.
But I've had a... I mean, you and I have talked about this already a couple times before we've got on camera. And my ideas have changed. And so the most recent idea that I came upon today, and I'm not saying it's not all my idea, it is actually something that I heard from somebody else, and I'm like, actually that makes a lot of sense. And I would believe that in the movies, and I also have a version of the same idea that I also tweaked a little bit.
Okay.
So the idea is this. We say that the X-Men have been there the entire time. So mutants and the X-Men have existed in this universe the entire time. That in this 10 to 15 year run that the MCU has existed. And so how do you all of a sudden explain these people coming onto the scenes with these people that have abilities that nobody for some reason has never heard of? The way that I think you do it is that you have it set up to where Professor Xavier actually erased from the minds of everybody on the planet that mutants even existed.
What now?
So,
who came up with this?
And so, no, this is what you do. So the first movie that you come out with, right, is that you come out with a movie that is strictly, I mean, it's the movie about the X-Men, right?
Okay.
And so you start with the original X-Men, like early 60s, 40s, whenever the X-Men came out.
Okay.
Like that early version. So I'm talking about Cyclops, I'm talking about Jean Grey, Hank McCoy before he was blue and furry.
Okay, I'm sort of on board now.
And you come and you roll with Iceman and Storm.
Okay.
So those are your 5 X-Men that you start out with. And I think
everyone grew up loving these. These are the people that we all grew up and grew to love. So
yeah, either
I'm
we did
or
either us or your parents grew up. These are the X-Men that they grew up knowing. So you start with those 5.
Okay.
We're not even going to introduce Wolverine because I feel like I think the way that they did it with the original X-Men was actually kind of interesting, where they brought Wolverine in later.
Okay.
But the X-Men were already established, so I think you kind of follow the same mold.
Okay.
Where
I'm okay with that idea.
It's Xavier, and he has his 5 top students. Let's say he still has other students, but these are his 5 top. They're all tops in the class. But I think what you also do is to make it easier for people to accept, so it doesn't seem like it's that strange, is that you keep them, I want to say, a little bit older than Tom Holland is in Spider-Man. So they're not, like 16 or anything like that, but they're probably like 18.
Well, how old was Tom Holland?
Tom Holland, I think, in Spider-Man, I think he's a sophomore.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, so I think you put them a couple years older. Or let's say you make like Jean, Scott, and Storm can all be like seniors.
So we're making this kind of like the cartoon.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
And so we find out that Xavier, like the movie can start out with like a focus on Xavier. Okay, and it's showing him as he's, obviously he's still walking at this point, and he's going through the world just trying to really kind of find mutants and really just kind of discover more about himself. And so you started out with the first X-Men that he runs into is Storm. And this is kind of similar to how it's laid out in the comic books, where Storm is a pickpocket in Africa. Let's say this is probably at least 10 minutes of the movie, the first 10 minutes of the movie. And then Xavier and Shadow King have this big telepathic battle in Africa, and it has like worldwide implications. And once Xavier kind of realizes wow, there's evil mutants out here, there's people that are out here using their powers for good, and that they also don't care about civilization, and that civilization is also not ready for mutants, he brings it upon himself to, what, I'm going to give myself more time. I'm going to give humanity more time to kind of get used to the idea of mutants and see how things kind of play themselves out. So he uses his telepathic ability along with Cerebro, and he wipes it from people's memory, like this entire incident. So nobody ever remembers that there were mutants, that, or at least, yeah, that this incident ever happened. And so then you kind of fast forward to present day, and during this time span, you kind of see Xavier training and preparing his team of X-Men. Obviously, he now has Storm, which he saved from Africa. You know, you have Jean, you have Scott, you have the other, you have Hank, and you have Bobby, which is Iceman. And he's training them. I like this idea of using Professor Xavier as like, I think normally he's really like relaxed, like any version we've ever seen, even of him in the cartoons. He's always been like this fatherly figure that's so understanding. But I actually want to take it and make him more stern.
Excuse me? No, you can't change.
Yeah.
Professor Xavier.
No, and this is why.
No,
because
no,
yes, you can.
No. Okay. Everybody who agrees with me, leave comments, because you can't change that. No.
Yes, you can.
No.
Yeah, because I think, and it's not a big change, it's a slight change. Instead of him being like, he's still that father figure, but you know how like in the cartoon he was always like they would make a mistake and he'd be like, oh, no big deal.
We need to keep Professor X the same.
I think because it shows, because he already has this memory of what happens when they're not perfect. Like he's holding them to the standard of excellence and the standard of perfection. And I think it's really easy to believe, because one of the things with Cyclops in the comics is that he's like a perfectionist. Like he wants the team to be perfect, and you have to figure out, okay, where does that come from? And I think by showing it from Xavier, it's easier to believe from Scott. Otherwise, Scott just seems like this douchebag who just wants his peers to be perfect for no reason.
I'm okay with Scott being a douchebag.
I'm not, because I want all of these characters to be likable. I don't want one character to be more likable.
There's got to be a douchebag in.
Yeah, that's what Bobby's going to be.
Okay, so you want Bobby to be the douchebag.
Bobby's going to be like the immature douchebag. Like him, and he's actually the one that's around, like he would be the one that's around Tom Holland's age.
Okay.
So like, but the whole idea of the movie would be that the X-Men have been training for years. They feel like they're ready. But Xavier is kind of like, he's like just this overprotective father where he's just like, you guys have to be perfect. The world's not ready for you. And they're upset because they've seen everything that's happened from the Avengers to, I mean, obviously at this point, more than likely, like Infinity War has already passed. Like they've seen the results of all of this. They've seen heroes die, most likely, and things like that. And they're just like, we could have prevented, they've seen people die, and they're like, we could have prevented this if you had just let us help. And this whole entire time, Xavier is just this whole idea of like, you guys are just not ready. And so that's the mindset all the way up until we find out there's a return of Shadow King, and he has his own mutant army, and now he's basically forced people to remember. Like he's kind of like counteracted what Xavier did, and he's brought the memory of mutants back to the forefront with this giant attack on civilization. Now, two reasons why I think this works is, one, it's just like a quick, like you have a big bad, which is a big bad that we have not seen on screen. If you've watched the show Legion, he is in the show Legion, and he's really creepy.
I wasn't into Legion, I'm sorry.
He's really,
I tried to watch it.
It would make a really good hero, I mean a good villain on the big screen that we haven't seen on the small screen. And it also allows you to save Magneto for a later film.
Okay.
There's not so much cramming in, because I think when Magneto comes on the scene, he should be like Magneto, and not to mention there's other implications with like Scarlet Witch being in the MCU, and if you introduce Magneto, like I feel like there has to be a real story there.
Okay.
You can't just like throw him in there and then yada yada yada.
Okay.
But yeah, I think so. You have that element of, okay, they've always been here. This shock from civilization that, oh my God, these people have been here, and now and like you have people obviously that are older. Like some of the older people are gonna remember, like, I remember this incident. Why? And they're the ones that freak out. You have like, these are people that are probably gonna be in position of power, presidents, ambassadors. They're just like, oh my God, these mutants are so powerful. They even made us forget something. You know, obviously, end of the movie would be obviously like, you know, the X-Men finally get their chance to shine. They're able to save the day, and they're introduced to the MCU. And probably like end credits, you see like Nick Fury walk in.
Oh, he's got this all planned out. He's got the end credits planned.
Yeah, like you see like Nick Fury like either like walking into I I don't know. I have ideas for Infinity War, but all right, without spoiling what I think what's gonna happen.
Let's not get long-winded here.
Let's say he walks into like Tony Stark's office and he drops this file, and it has all the X-Men listed.
Okay.
As well as an additional file that has all the other X-Men that they have not, or the other mutants that they have found, and they're trying to figure out what to do about. And so then it leaves a perfect tie into, okay, now the Avengers are aware. Scarlet Witch is aware. Or, completely other thought, instead of it being Nick Fury, you have Scarlet Witch seeing this happen, and she remembers her father. And she's out, and all of a sudden she has this whole idea of, I'm going to go out and find my father. My real father.
So, Miko, why do you think your idea is going to work?
I think it would work for a number of different reasons. First of all, we've only seen one portion of like the entire Marvel universe. I mean, as far as like location based, I mean they've gone to like different cities and everything, but a large portion of the heroes in this movie, in the MCU, live in New York. And the cool thing about the X-Men is that they actually live in San Francisco.
That is true. That's very true.
So you have an entirely separate side of the country that essentially nobody ever talks about. So we don't know what goes on in San Francisco. We don't know that people don't know about Professor Xavier. You know? I feel like it would work because otherwise, if you're Disney and you're going to spend billions of dollars to get the rights to these characters, you are handcuffing yourself. You're basically spending money for nothing. Like, you're going to spend like billions of dollars to start all the way over and build a new universe, and
but
you're
why
not
would that
entirely.
Be a waste of money, though.
Well, because you don't know if it's going to work, and you're going to have a lot of the fan base wanting to see these two. You're going to want to have it set up where fans are going to want to see certain characters interact, and you want to be able to do that naturally without being like, oh yeah, they cross dimensions. Like, don't get me wrong, I love that they do it in Flash.
Yeah,
it's great. It works in Flash. But like, do you really want to see that like on the big screen? Like every time they want to do like a big crossover, like if they
do it right, yes. I would.
But if you wanted to do like, I mean, like I said, if you do it once, sure. But if you do it like let's say you did Hulk versus Wolverine once, and then it's like, okay, fine, they cross dimensions once, but then you wanted to do like X-Men versus Avengers, then you have to do it again. You know,
are you saying it's gonna get old?
It would get old really fast. Like, okay, I get it. They're crossing dimensions to fight each other, and then you have to explain why they're crossing dimensions to fight each other.
Because it's awesome.
So that'll be the end of this video. Do the whole comment,
like, comment, share, subscribe.
That too. Yeah, and let us know what you think. Let me know. Let us know what side of the fence you're on.
Hold on. This is not just your channel.
Oh man.
Let
us know where you kind of fall on this whole topic. Are you how do you feel about my idea? How do you feel about Khalila's idea? Share with us your ideas. What do you think Marvel should do? If they get these new properties and what they could possibly do with the X-Men.
And Miko, you're gonna keep us updated on the decision.
Yeah, we will definitely do another video as soon as the decision is final. We'll react to it, and maybe that'll be the day we'll have a little bit of fun. We'll start, pretending that we're whoever the people are that pick who gets to be in these movies, and we'll start throwing some names out of who we think would be some great actors for some iconic X-Men characters. And then we'll also come back and we'll do another video maybe for Fantastic Four as well.
Yes,
and we'll talk about that and yeah. So,
like, comment, share, subscribe. I'm sorry, that's our newest little baby, AJ. So we're gonna go because she wants us to be done.
So yeah. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.